Hello, my friends. I'm Valerie at Sure Scraps a Lot, and I'm here with you today for your tip a day in May for May 23rd. Thanks so much for joining me. Today, I would like to talk to you a little bit about journaling. So what I did was I went through a lot of my layouts that I've accumulated, and I pulled out a few examples of different ways that you can journal. Okay, now I have all 12 by 12 layouts here, but this applies to any size of album that you want to use. All right, so the first way, just do this a little bit differently. This is a 2-page layout, right? And you can see that I have, I'm just going to, I know I zoomed out, but now I want to zoom back in a minute here. Okay, so you can see here that I have used strips of cardstock and just added them in close proximity to the photo, or right on the photo actually, to give you an idea of what the photos are about. All right, and here you can say whatever you like. All right, then you pull this out and you can see that I've got all of my journaling on this little tab, which actually was a piece of cardstock, not cardstock, what am I saying, powdered paper. Okay, and I just tucked it in here and I used an embellishment from the sticker sheet that I removed the sticky from the back of, and I added some dimensional, and then that's a tab so that you can see that there's something, oh, no, I can't get a hold of it, there we go, that there's something special there. All right, so you can see that I have done all of my journaling here. Now, this is a really great way to document something that you want to keep a little more personal. All right, so that's that one. Now, this is another really good way of doing your journaling, and it's with strips. All right, so what I tend to do with mine is I cut at 3/8 of an inch. That seems to be a really good size for journaling strips. And then I write my entire message on the strip, and then I see what space I have to put it in, and I cut it in places that make sense. And then I just add it in to where it fit. Show that a little more closely. Okay, so that is another very simple way. And now here I have another example of some different things that you can do as far as hiding things using pockets and whatnot. All right, so here you can see that I've got 2 things written here, and I've used Picture My Life cards for both of these. All right, and they don't necessarily have to be Picture My Life cards or pocket cards that go with your paper. They can be anything that you want. Later, and then on the other side, back out a little bit, you can see right here that I've got another one. All right, now I haven't got anything written on this one yet. All right, but my whole plan was eventually to give this layout to my granddaughter, Megan, and then I will let her write what she wants to write there. Okay, so that's that one. Now, what about this one? Okay, this is just another example of using the journaling strips. You can see on this one, I put them a little bit further apart. I had more room this time. So again, the 3/8 of an inch strip that I write out my entire message, and then I see what space I have and how I can trim it. All right, that's that one. Okay, and now I have another way that you can do your journaling, and that is using flip-flops. All right, so here we go with this. Whoops, wrong way. I always do wrong way. All right, so I realized once I started writing this that I was going to need more space. And so I opted for a flip flap here because I needed to write on the other side of the paper as well. And of course I wrote it upside down, but that doesn't matter for purposes here. Okay, what I wanted was to be able to use the same space, the same amount of space that I had, but add more journaling. So I just used a flip flap, and our Picture My Life cards or our pocket cards are always double-sided. So there's no problem with flipping it over to add the rest of your journaling. And here's another one. This is a single page layout. All right, and this one, I had a lot to say in this layout. Okay, if you know me at all, you know that I love taking pictures of wildlife, and particularly birds. And where we live in Northwest Calgary, we have an abundance of birds. We live very close to a water system. And so we are blessed with always having lots and lots of birds around. So I wanted to be able to put a lot of information and pictures into this one layout. And so what I did was I used my flip flap to add my journaling, and then I was able to get a little bit more of the photos in as well. But you can see under each one of these that I've added my journaling on the inside, and that way you can enjoy the pictures of the birds all on their own. Or you can take the time, if you are interested, to find out a little bit more about what kind of birds they are and what's the story behind these pictures. All right, so that's another way you can add journaling. Okay, what else have we got here? All right, so now this is using the Picture My Life cards in a different way. All right, so you can see here, all right, that I have chosen a 4x6 Picture My Life card. I didn't need 4x6 though, so I just cut down to what I needed. And then I arranged my writing around the image. So that's a really fun way of making use of our pocket cards. Here's another one that I did exactly the same thing with. All right, this was a 3x4. And so it had this white pennant that was blank. And so I just wrote my journaling right in there. So it makes quite a nice finish for your layout. All right, and then sometimes, okay, we end up with just having a layout that wasn't really, you weren't really planning on putting any journaling in. It does happen sometimes, right? And so then you just have to make use of the space that you have. And that's basically what I did here. All right, so I've got this layout, okay, double page layout. And then I wanted to add just a bit of a story. And so I just wrote it in to the space that I had. Pretty easy. All right, and then here I've left this as just one final way that you can add your journaling. All right, this is actually a layout that I did in my very first scrapbook album. I did this in 2005 after Stephen and I got married. And that's how I got started in scrapbooking. So I wanted a special way of scrapbooking all of the events. So our engagement and the wedding and the honeymoon and everything. So this is a poem that I wrote, all right, about us getting engaged, about us getting married. And so what I did was I printed it out and then I just added it in. All right, so that's another really nice way. And there's nothing stopping you. If you have a lot to say on a scrapbook page, there's nothing stopping you from printing it up or typing it into your word processing program and then printing it out so that it's much, much smaller and you can get a lot of words into a small area. So that's my last way of journaling. If you have any other ways, please leave them in the comments. I'd love to see them. Now, one thing that I do want to talk to you about is drawing your own journaling lines. Now, there is a couple of ways you can do this. So one is if you have one of these, Close to My Heart Versamat, okay, you can line this up on your lines. You can grab your ruler, and you don't need the measuring side. What you need to do is line up your ruler to the same line on both sides of your journaling card. All right, and then leaving a small margin. All right, you're just going to draw your line across like this. All right, and then you can decide on how much space you want. I'm going to leave a nice big space. I'm going to do a 1/2 inch. It's 1/4 inch is just a bit too small for me. I have quite big writing. And you can just go down the whole page like this. And then if you want, when you're done, you can add some doodling around the edges or some faux stitching or even some real stitching if you wanted. Just like that. Okay, now the other thing that you can do is actually do some lines in freehand. All right, so a couple of things to remember. I like to use a medium point nib. Okay, I prefer not to use a marker type nib. All right, there's just too much ink happening all at once. And with this type of a very fine nib, all right, you have a lot of control over where your ink is going. I'm also using a high quality pen, okay, that is acid free. And so it's not going to interact in a bad way with any of your papers or your photos in your scrapbooking. So what I like to do is start on the left side of the paper, of course. All right, and so if you are left-handed, of course, this would all be reversed. So I'm going to start a little bit lower on the page. And what I'm doing is I'm putting my pen down and then I'm drawing the line without moving my wrist. All right, so that's not bad. And you can see that I'm still using the lines on the Versamat as a guide. Okay, so now I'm going to come down to the next line and I'm just going to start drawing across, and I'm using the pen to do the work. I'm not moving my wrist. So if you start and leave your arm where it is and move your wrist, you can see that it's not as easy to control. All right. However, if you are very, what's the word I want to say? Sure of yourself, you have to just go with it. You want to move your arm and just keep going. Don't stop. All right. So that's really all there is to it. Okay. Now I know that one has made quite a bit of a mess there, but that's okay. All right. So there you have it. There's a few ideas for you for journaling. If you have any other ideas you'd like to add, or if you have any comments or any questions, please feel free to leave them for me and I will get back to you just as soon as I can. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you will join me again on May 24th for our tip of the day.